Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the Friday Fix. It is obviously Friday. It is the 7th of November. And you join myself and the wonderful fellas from Alpha Picks. As always, if you don't already follow them on social media, do so. If you don't already subscribe to them, definitely do so because it's top quality content. As usual, we will be going through the major themes that be moving markets this week and just a little chat about where we see things going. If we're lucky, we'll get a stat attack from Alex, which me and Tova. But before we crack on, I will get the boring legals out the way. Nothing discussed on this podcast is trading or investment advice. Nothing we say should convince you to do a single trade on the back of this. Do your own due diligence, etc., etc. Don't blame us if it goes wrong. Also, no endorsements whatsoever. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. We endorse PIQ and we endorse Alpha Picks. There you go.
We do.
How are you, gents?
Yeah, all good this end, thanks. Jay, you there?
Yep.
Yeah,
Loud and clear,
wonderful.
hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, a classic sort of start of November feeling, I think, isn't
Well,
it?
it's first Friday of November, but no NFP.
No, exactly. No. But you can tell it's becoming more sort of seasonal. I actually just cut through, if you're on the seasonal Alex indicator, my latest delivery of Nespresso capsules now feature the festive cinnamon and cardamom.
No, that's not a type of coffee, is it?
It's very nice. It's very tasty.
God. Do you know what? Right, so we're completely going off topic here, but at least we're not talking about Venezuela. Do you know one of the worst things for me in the entire world? When you're munching on a good Indian, a good Ruby Murray, and you accidentally bite into a cardamom pod.
Yes.
That just ruins your day.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. The explosion of whatever cardamom that comes through.
Yeah. But anyway,
back on track. But we might not have a stat attack right now, but definitely we can have a Ryan's rant with Rachel Reeves this week, who obviously has been busy. She had a little speech, a pre-budget chatter, and a range of sort of new tax measures being banned around. Banks windfall tax looks to be off the table. Pay per mile on electric vehicles potentially being floated around.
Yeah,
and an exit tax, more akin to sort of a capital gains if you're heading out of the UK. So interested to, Ryan, where do you stand on these proposals? Do you think it moves the needle for the UK? Like, where you at?
Well, I think one interesting thing that we've seen today is a senior, I can't even remember a bloody name. One of the senior members of the cabinet in Keir Starmer's cabinet has actually come out publicly and said that she doesn't think that Rachel Reeves should raise income tax. She came out today and said that. So, it shows you how fractured the Labour government is, because obviously it was one of their manifesto pledges, their promise that they wouldn't do it. And someone, I believe it was John Stepek, which I might be having a beer with later, funny enough, I saw him repost something. It was quite a valid point, which was, if you are going to break your manifesto promise and piss off basically the entire country, well, those of us that pay tax, you're doing it for a very small gain. I think it's like 6 billion gain, and you're really basically pissing off everyone. I think, I'll be very, very honest. The fact that on Tuesday we had like this emergency press conference from Rachel Reeves, which I don't ever remember one. I've spoken to some friends that have been, in markets for 40 years. They don't remember a chancellor doing an emergency meeting 4 weeks before the budget to basically tell everyone the budget's going to be really shit. I'll be honest, I'm very, very nervous about how shit it's going to be. I think, I don't know. I'm trying to be very polite here, but I think we're completely fucked as a country. And I think this exit tax, what is it? It's not like with the Hotel California or whatever it is, you can come but you cannot leave. But it's just, I think it's ridiculous. I'm genuinely very fearful for what's going to happen over the next few years. I don't know what you think on this. And also say that, okay, here's a good question for you. You mentioned last Friday about, was it a gilt trade? I think it was, we mentioned. A gilt trade, I think you were talking about.
Yes. Yeah, on the futures markets. Yeah. Z5, U6.
So,
yeah.
But here's a question for you both, really. If this budget is really bad, it's more taxation, it's hampering the economy, and actually is. What do you think the Bank of England do in December? I think the Bank of England, Bailey kind of left it quite open, but he might be forced to cut because of how bad things are going to get. Do you see what I mean? So it's almost like the Bank of England are going to be bailing out Reeves's tax increases. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice stage. I wanted to talk about the Bank of England anyway. And yeah, it was interesting because I would say, it was a surprise that they didn't cut yesterday. And it was tight in terms of a 5-4 vote.
What was the pricing going into it?
That's a good question. I would say markets were, I want to say probably a 60-70% chance of a cut.
Sorry, I was completely out of the loop. I've just been so busy on other things at the moment. Yeah, so it was actually was a surprise then.
Yeah. It was a surprise that it didn't cut. I mean, essentially, it was looking for either a cut this month or a cut December.
Yeah.
So market space just shifted all of that implied pricing across to December. Right. So it's kind of not too crazy there. And I do think they probably will cut in December.
Yeah.
But I think, because the problem with the budget is that it's a very near-term fiscal impact that then has longer-term implications. And so it's a case of when you're the Bank of England and you're looking at setting your policy, from the projections they put out, they actually say that inflation has peaked. And that it's obviously going to...
I think that was a very brave call to basically go on record and say, what is it? We think, basically this 3.8 print is the high.
Yeah. So I mean, it's ballsy, but also even with the GDP growth, I mean, so they cut off a little bit of growth for next year from 1.5 to 1.2% annualized, but then they see growth picking back up in 2027 and 2028. Yeah. And so it's like when you have those sort of forecasts in front of you, making the case for sharp easing between now and, just over the next sort of 3 months, let's say, it's hard to do. And when you've got a budget that's like, even if it's an absolute disaster, and it becomes a very interesting one where it's like, do the Bank of England say, okay, do you know what? Like our forecasts for inflation and growth are looking okay. Yeah. But given what she's done, materially in 12 months time, it's going to be damaging. So therefore, let's front run and be proactive. That's the big question of where we go from here.
Yeah. Exactly. And do you know what? You can almost picture what's going to happen as well. So say that, how to word this in a polite way. Basically, if they did cut in December, like when they cut before, fucking Labour government and the Treasury and Rachel Reeves comes out and basically says that's a good thing. And that's a good thing to do. They don't understand the ramifications. And that's what really pisses me off. It's like, do you remember last time Bank of England cut rates and Rachel Reeves came out and basically made out that it was her that cut rates for one, and also basically made out that it was a sign of like a strong economy. And it's like, they're just clueless.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think there's still a nice way because even like out to June of next year, which is obviously where the Treasury to try through last week prices, is that there's only, I'm just looking at it here, what's that? There's about 30 basis points worth of cuts for the first half of next year.
Right.
And I mean, from what my thinking is, they'll cut once per quarter as a base case.
I think that seems to be the way they like to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, and who knows, if the budget does go down the pan and they shift things, maybe they do one of those becomes a 50 basis point cut as a real life, don't worry, we're okay.
See, I'm still pushing for 12.5 basis point cuts. I think, there's nothing that, just be very clear, there's nothing there's nothing wrote down that says they can't do it. And I think a couple of those, finesse it.
I mean, okay. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not putting any money behind it, but
just those little 12.5 kickers. Just little. There you go.
Exactly. Just fade it in.
Fade it in. Yeah. I mean, Jay, any thoughts on this? Yeah. Jay's not quite as much as a UK doomsayer as others, in fairness.
I'm much more a listener to you two go back and forth on the UK. I wouldn't really say I have many other editions. I mean, you've been kind of monitoring like the BOV and pricing on rates and putting the ideas out there. So,
well, no, that's
much value for me.
That's a cop out, right? Jay, I'm not letting you go away. Right, so Jay, in terms of, so you're saying not such a doomsayer. So are you thinking about the future, or are you just not as negative?
No. When I say that, well, yeah, maybe not as negative, but more just unopinionated on it.
That's very politically correct.
He's neutral.
Yeah.
Until it hits his pocket, and then he's going to be fuming.
And then he's a young whippersnapper, so he'll be fucking off to Dubai anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we know your score.
Ryan, I thought me and you were going Portugal soon.
Well, Madeira. I'm liking Madeira at the moment.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll park the UK to one side there. After.
Also, sorry, before we do this, just to add,
Yeah.
just one thing that I've been picking up on, and actually it was Michael that raised it, Michael Brown. So, good friend of ours. I don't know if you guys have met her, but we'll have to sort out a drink. Helen Thomas, Blonde Money. She is an incredibly good political, she crosses that boundary between politics and economy. And she's really, really tuned into how government policy works and how governments work and how that feeds through into the UK in terms of bank rates, etc., and gilt markets. She has gone quite hard recently, pivoted to she doesn't think Starmer's going to be around for very much longer. Well, so that's kind of the vibe she's given off. And now I've got to say, I love Helen, and she is normally very, very good at these things. So I think this is something that we might have to consider as a bit of I can't say a black swan because we're already talking about it, but potential risk, that not being priced in is there could be some quite significant political upheaval in H1 next year, especially if this budget does turn the crowd really, really against the Labour Party.
And did she say why she thinks?
I've not read the pieces myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely worth giving it a read. I do recommend that everyone gives Helen a follow and gets hold of her content that she puts out. She's really she's one of these people that just seems to nail UK politics all the time and the implications through to UK markets. Couldn't recommend her enough. And she's a lovely person and she's my friend. So slightly biased, but there you go.
Nah, solid. Well, pivoting from money being sapped out of the system to money potentially being put in Elon Musk's pocket. And what do I think about that for a little segue?
Seamless, mate. Seamless. It's almost like it was covered in WD-40.
Yeah. So obviously the Tesla shareholder meeting yesterday, or sort of overnight, and lots of interesting bits and bobs. So one was obviously that the board members approved Musk's compensation plan with 75% support. So he gets various kickers. The first one actually that comes in if Tesla market cap exceeds 2 trillion, and it's at about 1.5 trillion at the moment. And obviously then they sort of scale up from there. So interesting on that point, but also interesting. I mean, I don't know if any of you see it. I haven't seen the full thing yet. Musk was on Joe Rogan, his latest podcast that just dropped, and the Tesla Roadster launch, which they've said slated on the podcast. He said it's coming before the end of the year. Maybe push back a little bit further.
Wasn't that meant to be coming at the end of last year?
Well, I mean, it's been pending for, I think, 7 years, in fairness. But apparently it is the rumors are picking up that it is going to be something big. And Musk said it's going to be the most exciting demo ever of a product.
Of course. Got to sell the narrative ahead of time.
Well, no, this is it, Jay. And the thing is, we spoke about this during the summer, on the Friday fix during the summer. I remember I was in exactly the same place where I am now. No surprises about that. And this is when that $1 trillion package was first mooted. And we sat here and said, do you know what? Musk talks a load of bollocks to get the stock price up regardless. All he's going to do now is it's going to be even worse because he's literally going to pump the stock as much as possible with outlandish kind of, predictions and kind of promises, which, where the fuck are these Tesla lorries gone? They've disappeared off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, they announced them last night. So they're coming. Production starts in April.
Of course it will.
Those cybercabs. Yeah.
But he's literally just going to come up with a load of million different ideas, anything he can do, and he doesn't need to follow through on them. And he's never felt. I thought my rant was going to be about Rachel Reeves today, but obviously it's not about that. You know what I mean? He's proven that he just talks bollocks to pump the stock price up, and that was before he was going to get $1 trillion package if he pumps it even more. Again, it's one of those that you can't believe anything he says, but because it's Elon Musk and because it's Tesla and because it's got such a cult following, and again, we said exactly this during the summer. You wouldn't be surprised if it works, but but then you look at I know everyone's like, oh, Tesla's not a car company anymore. Well, it fucking is, because that's all they make. They're not making anything else at the moment. These robots, where the fuck are they? They're not anywhere. But here's the thing. They only sold 900 cars or whatever in Germany last month. Their arse has fallen out of the Tesla sales in terms of cars. And
also in China, they're losing share in that market.
It's dropping everywhere. They're being completely overtaken by the other models and other brands and stuff. And everyone's like, oh, but it's not just a car company. You're buying into the robots and all this. Fuck off. Where are these fucking robots? Oh, God. Right,
it's true.
I apologise.
The only thing to throw in there as well, which I don't know is going to antagonize you further, is also another final interesting tip he mentioned was that he's proposed that they're going to have their own Tesla chip manufacturing facilities, because they say that the scale of their AI and robotic ambitions mean that their existing suppliers, TSMC and those likes can't keep up with the capacity they want. And that's quite an interesting one, because if they do follow through on that and bring more of that manufacturing in-house, you could then legitimately be buying Tesla stock for AI advancements if they're only different stages of the supply chain.
Absolutely. But it is a lot of ifs and buts. And just before, because I've just saw Tom Wiseman just messaged, it wasn't a cabinet member, it's the deputy leader told the head of the Treasury basically not to raise taxes. But anyway, the thing is, you can't knock Musk for things like SpaceX and stuff. I think that's been what he's doing there is phenomenal. It's completely changed the system. But I just can't get my head around that he's just being rewarded for talking bollocks. I mean, I talk a lot of bollocks. Where's my reward?
You have your own podcast.
That's the snippet away from this.
Yeah. We'll see that in the little AI summary. So, I thought that was an interesting one. And then obviously, if we're sticking on sort of US equities, obviously it's been another bonanza week for earnings. I mean, actually, Jay, did you want to come in on this? I know yesterday you put out a bit on some tickers that you'd noted over the past couple of weeks reporting. That you sort of liked.
So it was a shorter note, just touching on a few different topics rather than one focus theme. I
like when you touch on things.
Of course you do. But one of my biggest takeaways from the few Mag 7 earnings that were reported last week was Amazon, because for most of this year they've kind of been a laggard in the Mag 7 AI story and written off the most. But I think the good angle with Amazon, or maybe the unique angle with Amazon, is the scale of how they can incorporate robotics into their system.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
which none of the other, or you could probably say like Tesla will be able to incorporate robotics, but none of the other ones.
Yeah, go on, mate. You'll be listening to Ryan every 5 minutes.
So that was my big takeaway, was kind of maybe Amazon being re-rated as kind of an equal runner in the AI race between the different Mag 7 names. So, I mean, we've been long that name for maybe since like May time, I think. But I think the thesis for Amazon is really good. The other story, which has been popping up a little bit more, is obviously about AI power kind of being the bottleneck at the moment. It seems like chips are melting under their demand. And it was a really interesting Odd Lots podcast. And I think they had the head of S&P Global on talking about this, because over the past decade or so, the green transition has been was a very big story, which has slowly been pushed back and faded. And now
it's one of those, it's not even being mentioned in conference calls, earnings calls anymore.
2030 was supposed to be the hero, and we're 5 years off that. There's no chance that happens. It's been pushed back to 2050 now. But anyway, because of this surge in demand for power with AI, green energy is actually, rather than being the transition, is actually just acting right now as a complement to all of the other energy sources. Right. These tech companies need as much energy as they can get. So two of the names that we like to kind of facilitate this green energy power is Bloom Energy and a Japan name, Murata Manufacturing. But they are both included in the ETF IBAT. So when me and Alex were talking about this, that's the way that we're gonna get exposure to these names.
Also, so you say that like you've not done it right, so I can front run you.
If
you see a cheeky one lot go in,
that's Ryan. So Bloom Energy is 12% in the ETF, and Murata is 6.7%, something like that. So I think the demand for power isn't gonna reduce. So I think
I feel
the energy angle is good. And obviously, coming into 2025, green energy was completely written off with Trump.
Yeah.
And the drill, baby, drill.
I mean,
the incentives, the subsidiaries are all gone.
Exactly that.
So written off.
I don't think we're far off like coal-fired AI data centers at this point. Anything that they can get their hands on.
Coal. So they were a few, and then also PayPal, which was I can't remember if that story came out last week or earlier this week, but PayPal partnering with OpenAI among the 400 other companies.
Yeah, right.
OpenAI at the moment. But I think PayPal is an interesting angle because AI does need to monetize. So, for example, like with Google, like was obviously run off advertising, but now you go to ChatGPT, for example, you don't ever see an ad. So you're not getting advertising money, but I think PayPal, if they're integrating merchant and advertising into OpenAI, PayPal could see a nice rebound as kind of the online spending shift.
Another link to Elon Musk as well with PayPal.
Yeah, no.
Can't get away from it.
Yeah. You know, I saw the other crazy... Sorry, Jay.
I was going to say that was just a wrap up of the article that we put out. Yes, a few different names.
I apologise if this was going to be mentioned, but as we're talking about AI and all that stuff, I think quite a story that had 15 minutes of being everywhere, but then kind of all of a sudden just disappeared again. And thankfully, Trump's already said it won't happen. But Sam Altman coming out and basically asking for a government backstop for the trillions of investment that he's promising. So it's like, and then basically straight after, you had Jensen from NVIDIA basically come along and say, look, unless the government get behind us, China are going to win. They're basically trying to, you can see it was kind of coordinated, and they're basically saying, and it comes also, let's not forget the timing of this is very critical for me. This comes the same week that Sam got basically called out on a podcast and said, how can you afford all this promised spending you've done when you haven't got anywhere near the revenue? And he got really defensive on it. And then I think, people are starting to ask the right questions. And I think because they're asking these, very valid questions, that's when all of a sudden Sam goes, well, what we need is we need the government to, backstop it all. If they don't, and then Jensen comes on, if they don't do that, China's going to win the race. And literally trying to make this a political card. And do you know what? I was actually quite impressed with Trump to come out so quickly and say that will not happen. Because that would just be an absolute farce if that did happen.
The podcast thing is really interesting as well. I mean, his body language, his defensive from it. The bit where he was like, he can't wait to see short sellers get burned, and it's like you haven't even IPO'd yet, bro. You know what I mean? It's like calm down.
On a similar vein, I saw after Palantir, beat earnings, beat everything, really great, good guidance and stuff, but then the stock collapsed. And the CEO of Palantir was on CNBC the next morning, and I watched the interview live, and I got to say they'll be using sound bites from that interview for months. He literally was going mad. You could see how angry he was, and it really, really took it personally that the stock got sold off. But it was in a way it was completely different way than Sam Altman, because Sam Altman got really defensive and really squirmy. But this guy, the Palantir CEO, so I can't remember what his name is.
Alan Karp.
That's it. Yeah, Karp. And he got really he kind of came out fighting and was like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And that's what you want from a CEO, rather than, the reaction that we got on the podcast. If you could have short OpenAI based on that, you probably would have.
Yeah, I think the Palantir one I wanted to comment as well, because I thought it was a very interesting one. That revenue was up 63% year on year. They're absolutely killing it. There's a little stat attack coming in 30 seconds. But
we lost Alex.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was.
Yeah, I was like, is this pause on purpose? Well, just as we're getting for this stat attack.
Oh, no, sorry. Someone rang me. Uh-huh. Yeah, sorry. I don't really, if someone calls you, it cuts you off. I'm sorry. So, the stock fell. And I think, and personally, I don't know if we want to mark this, is that this might be a near-term top for Palantir, if I'm honest. Like, it gets to that point where the earnings expectation is set so high.
Yes.
And I think we saw that. They delivered great results
and
the stock, you just can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And so, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the PE ratio is 409. So it's kind of like, I wouldn't be surprised if this takes a little bit of the froth off. And through to year end, unfortunately, I sold Palantir a while back, so I'm on a bit more of this leg up. But I struggle to see Palantir based on that reaction. I think that's a classic.
Exactly that. Exactly that. It's a classic. That's the classic reaction when to like insanely good numbers, but when the stock gets sold off regardless, you're like, this probably isn't a great sign structurally for the next 6 months or whatever.
But again, the stat attack.
Go on.
Let me hear the stat attack. So the results just out, Palantir beat Wall Street revenue expectations. How many consecutive quarters has Palantir beaten revenue expectations?
Oh, that is a good one. And I'll defer to Jay.
You want me to stick a number first?
Yes, please. Fire up the random number generator.
Let's go 15 quarters, just under 4 years.
15 quarters? Oh, okay.
Wait,
well,
I've done the maths right there.
I'm wildly out. Okay, I'll go 12.
21.
Fuck off.
Oh, wow.
Fuck off.
21 consecutive quarters.
No way.
Yeah. Over 5 years worth consecutive revenue being estimated, which is very impressive.
It shows you how good analysts are.
Yeah, I know. That's the takeaway.
that is very, very impressive.
That's
a great stat. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And the only last one I wanted to mention on earnings, the interesting tidbit, Nintendo. I think saw Nintendo's results out earlier this week. They're a big old company. Their revenue for this last quarter jumped 90% year on year, pretty much all down to the Switch 2 console, which I'll be honest, I'm too old to play on.
Yeah, I was going to say, what the kids are doing these days.
I hear from the kids that it's a very big deal. But that's quite an interesting one. I mean, people say that, these old incumbents are basically, done and dusted. But yeah, Nintendo, 90% growth in Q2 revenue. Very impressed.
To be honest, I completely forgot they existed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Nintendo's a famous company for transitioning, though, aren't they? Because I think they were like a playing card company originally, and they transitioned into tech.
Pivot.
Very random. Yeah, pivot. Yeah, so maybe that culture.
Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of old companies that are now back in the news, Nokia got an investment from who actually was it? OpenAI. I'm sure I've read that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Really?
Yeah, right.
It's a safe bet.
I'm sure Tom would be along shortly to tell me who. But I'm sure I saw Nokia in the papers. Well, I say in the papers. I read fucking papers. I saw Nokia on the screen being some kind of collab with some AI company.
Oh no, I missed that. Unless it was from Drake. But yeah, fine. I mean, the Times run away with it. Actually, that's pretty much how much run through.
There was something I wanted to mention, and I can't remember what the fuck it meant, what it was. What was it? Give me a sec. No, it's gone. Well, no time. Apologies for that. So,
and on that bombshell,
right? What's the S&P trading? That's what I was going to ask.
Oh yeah, well below 7,000, I think. That's the answer. Yeah.
Got so close. So just for anyone.
There was. When was it? Back end of last week. There was a little moment where I was like, actually, do you know what? This a little bit concerned here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're okay. Well, I don't know. We might not be okay, but yeah, I mean, whereas we stand right now, we're going to try and find out where it's at. But yeah.
Has he got another phone call?
Maybe. We've got 2 more weeks, right? This is November.
Well, this is it. Oh, no. Yeah, no, it was NVIDIA. Sorry, thank you, Tom. It was NVIDIA and Nokia tying up for 6G. Yeah, look, we've got time. We've got time for the S&P to get to 7,000 and then lunch on you. Ouch.
Absolutely. I mean, we have time in theory. Depends if a bull market derails you.
Oh, no, sorry. That was the last thing I was going to say before we go. And I know we're hitting the time dead on. So obviously, anyone that doesn't remember, Alex was a very early investor in Deliveroo. Held it forever. And then he got a check through the post to say, we've been bought out. Congratulations. And he actually took a 40 or 60% hit or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was having a giggle to a friend in the pub, and he basically punched me on the arm and said, "You twat." That's exactly what happened to me as well. Exactly. He said, because all you could do a maximum of 1,000. He did 1,000 for each of his kids. And he said he got the same in the post and he was distraught. Anyway, so it's not just you, mate. It's not just you.
It's not just me, thanks. I appreciate it.
I hope you appreciate that.
Alex in contact with him and they can...
Yeah, exactly. Have a little cry. Have a little cry, Wayne. But guys, thank you so much as always. Absolute pleasure talking to you both. And again, to anyone listening, do please subscribe to their Substack. It is top quality content. I'm not just saying that because I want them to buy me a beer. But guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you all next